today organizations are not working as a single entity. That scenario has changed. More often than not, we are calling them now markets by themselves. So if organizations are handling the markets, then employees who are in the ecosystem do not have the hierarchical say in hiring or firing. You cannot even choose. They are not under your payrolls. Still, you need to command and control. You need to get things done. Command and control is a wrong word here. But then in a sense, you need to get compliance towards your side and more attention towards your side. So what do you think will happen, the tool in the hands of a manager, that within the boundary and outside the boundary, and how to influence the ecosystem where everybody happens to be the peer at the same level, everybody has the access to the same information, thanks to the social media, thanks to all the information, revolution which has happened. So there is no dearth of information, everybody is knowledgeable. And therefore, learning also can happen in the ecosystem anywhere. Any partner can learn and drive changes in the entire ecosystem. Now, how to gear with this kind of, because you said changes are very rapid, yeah? You cannot continue to refer to the past glory. So you need to, you achieve and forget about it. Achieve and see the new reality. As Ashutosh said, that restlessness, the employees are restless because they have information, because they see what is happening around, and therefore questioning. So continuous questioning, continuous reformatting, continuous reframing, I think these kinds of, these skills also become very, very important. Yeah. So employees, total, what do you think will happen in this kind of scenario when there is no influencing power by position or being in managerial role happens? Yeah, please.
So I think to my mind, it's already started happening. It's not about companies choosing employees, but it's more about employees choosing companies which align with what they what they resonate with. For instance, the industry that I come from, the auto industry, a lot of people are now questioning, not so much in India at the moment, but generally about the impact that auto does to climate change and stuff like that. So I think so there are two parts of the command and control. One is, how can you make your business work without having a blemish or without kind of coming to a grind halt because people are there's a lot of noise in the system. And I think that to a large extent, and pardon my saying so again, that to a large extent will depend on whether your business model is increasingly technology focused. So for instance, to give you a sense, today's reality of marketplaces, the one that you referred to, is that the marketplace does not refer to just a discrete kind of combination of people. It refers to a network which has got its inbuilt checks and balances. So give you an example, you may know that. Suppose you, today, if you take an Uber, and suppose you're not happy with the way your driver has treated you, and you give a comment, you will not know what has happened to the driver. They may give you some free ride and this, that, and the other, but the algorithm will actually downgrade that guy in a sense that he will perpetually be blacklisted from ever servicing you, and he will not get the first kind of call if there are 3 drivers within 5 minutes of your distance. So I think by doing that, you are disincentivizing the guy and making him behave slightly better by trying to kind of make sure that those incentives and disincentives are very, very, they're very, very upfront, but they're all system-based, which is why I think this whole idea of the government going in for, one-on-one without any person, system-driven, appraisals or, income tax, those kind of filings, etc., is a step in that direction. So I think if your business model is structured properly, and that is why most of the companies now have to get HR people, marketing people, and other people aligned on a particular business model, because your business model has to stand the test of time. Now, that to my mind is one part of how the things may be able to manage. The other part is that if you look at the skills that you give to the employees, right? I think the training departments would be well served to kind of start questioning whether training on softer competencies are ROI driven or not? You know, do they give the necessary ROI that you want? Because you know what will happen is that if the training department spend a lot of time giving softer skills, and that person is not aligned to what the organization's philosophy, organization's thing is there, then there will be a mismatch. So the reality of tomorrow's employees is that you can make, you know, larger cultural statements about the company, but people will tend to select selectively who they want to work for and what values they see being aligned between the organizations.
Just a new dimension and a very quick response from Arun, that we are talking about now planet also and the depleting natural resources. And so far I haven't heard anything from any CEO here that any future workplaces also will be oriented towards doing their responsibility in a big way, the way it is happening today, not a lip service, not as a CSR 2% to invest, but at least something meaningful, something impactful. Because we are the part of the problem, so we have to be part of the solutions as well. So how do you see, or corporates in future will be gearing up about this, that preserving the natural resources rather than competing for it fiercely, which happens by, you know, again, historically. So are we again going to carry forward the same kind of mindset, or are we going to actually look forward to little more broader spread of it when we say consortium, when we say combined facilities, when we say common R&D, when we say that bringing the ecosystem together? So how do you see this playing a role? Yeah.
So, you know, social, what you're saying is very relevant. You know, it starts from social responsibility and ethics. And this needs to be inculcated at age. The challenge today is everything is being done very short term. You want a monthly figure, you want a quarterly financial, you'll fudge figures, you'll do some things, you'll do short term, and it'll be sacrificed on the altar of long term.
I just want to stop you here and want to drag the attention of the audience here. Charity begins right here. We have the plastic bottles. Single use of plastic has to be banned. Everybody knows about it. But this simply knowing is not good enough.
Actually.
Because there is a tolerance. And if we do not have tolerance, you look at my bag, I carry my own bottle. Yeah, everywhere. Inside the aircraft also I carry my own bottle, because not plastic bottle, but my own flask. Yeah, smaller one, because I need water. Yeah, so I think I'm talking about not CSR again.
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking of the mindset which is there.
Yeah.
CSR is just a number figure. 2% has to be spent on CSR. It is a mindset. It is the ethos. It is the values which is there. Once your ethos and values are inculcated, you will do the right thing.
Okay, so
अगर आपका strategy ठीक नहीं है, मन साफ नहीं है, तो जो कर्म भी करेंगे वो भी गलत होंगे.
Right.
So
So I think in business model, what Ashutosh was referring to, when you are talking about business model, what is the right business model, we need to look at from the sustainability point of view as well. And that should be the beginning of the planning, rather than just at the superficial level calling someone and say that participate in the meeting, because this keeps on happening. So profit also needs redefinition in future, that what and how profit has to be calculated. In the one recent survey, this has been found that most of the millennials do not want organizations to only make a very sound balance sheets always. They are wanting their own performance also to be measured in multiple ways rather than single ways. So this also has to incorporate as we go ahead forward.